another newsletter from Vivesco Mobile Health and Fitness. We are already in March 2015 and I'm apologizing, I'm a little bit late with this one this time. So I hope you're looking forward to this new edition. As always, 5 points to talk about. The first one is about some continuing group sessions, then I want to talk about some farmers markets, then I want to talk about a new website that has done an amazing job in looking all over Perth for anything health, organic, good food, exercise, whatever is, for health and well-being, to put it all into one website and make it like a yellow pages pretty much, but all about health and wellness. And then I want to start my a series of talking about the myofascial lines. So I've decided to, every month from now on, I'll talk about one of the lines, simply to give you a reference point to go back to and maybe understand a bit better of what I'm always talking about. And then the last point, as usual, is my juice of the month. So, to get you started, as I said, you might remember I've had some free group sessions happening over the month of February. Unfortunately, it wasn't received as well as I would have hoped it to be. However, I will be continuing the session at 9:30 on a Wednesday morning. The place where it's going to be held will change every week, so should you be interested in attending one of the sessions, or if you've got friends, again, family, etc., that would be interested, please get them to get in touch with me, so they know where to come on the day and what kind of training to expect on the day as well. So one session a week, 9:30 on a Wednesday. The one-off attendance is $15 per head, and the session goes 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how many people end up attending, because if I work out a program, obviously, if it's less people, then there might be less time spent on certain exercises, but we can always figure it out. So that's that. Number two, I just wanted to talk to you about farmers markets. Perth has a really big choice nowadays on farmers markets to go to on the weekend. Some are on Saturdays, some are on Sundays, some are on both days. But it's a beautiful thing to do first thing in the morning, to get out there. It's a communal experience, nice people, fresh fruit and veg, healthy food. You can smell, you can taste the difference. The first few times, I remember back about 2 years by now, for 2 years I haven't bought fruit or veg from the supermarkets, because just looking at it nowadays makes me think, like, it just doesn't look radiant. Where if you go out to a farmer's market and you can pick up the orange, and the orange actually smells like an orange, or the mango smells like a mango. And prices are affordable as well. Even organic produce, biodynamic organic produce, is sometimes more affordable than what you can get in the supermarkets. So I highly, highly recommend to at least check it out. On this video, if you, I will try and actually pop up a few things next to me here with clicks and links, but I don't know how that's going to work. So if you're watching this video on YouTube, I will have the links to a list of farmers markets in the description of the video. If you're watching this video on my website, just scroll down on the newsletter and you will find the link in the actual newsletter as well. So yeah, go out there, explore Perth, and try a different farmers market every weekend. That's another thing you could do. So yeah, have fun with that. Third point, as I said, there is a new website out, which is called The Green Goddess. So as I said in the introduction before, it's kind of like the yellow pages, but you find cafes, restaurants, personal trainers, natural therapists, exercise workshops, everything that has to do, as I said, with health, wellness, fitness, organic produce, natural produce. It's a really, really, really nice effort. As far as I'm aware, it doesn't cost you anything. You just go there and you type in what you're after, or you click through everything, and maybe find something close by that you weren't aware of, that for a nice healthy breakfast, or even a restaurant to go out for dinner, something with fresh produce, something nice and healthy. So thumbs up for the person who's done that. She's done an amazing job to collect all that information and bring it all together on one website. Again, same as with the farmers markets, I will include the link either somewhere around myself here if I can make that work. Otherwise, find it on the actual newsletter, on the text, or on the YouTube description of this video. Next point is going to be the first part of the series about myofascial tissue. So today I want to start with a little introduction about myofascial tissue. And I do have my computer sitting down here, as I might have to peek every now and then what I've been writing, just so it stays in line what I have been writing, what I'm talking to you about now as well. So, introduction to myofascial lines. So the term myofascia means nothing else but connecting, which is fascia is connective tissue, and myo is the muscle. So muscle connection, or muscle connective tissue there to speak. However, the term fascia is really just an umbrella term. Connective tissue, it can vary in if it's a tough tissue or soft tissue. So tendons, ligaments, tissue that, like in between our skin layers, there's tissue that holds all that together and makes it glide on top of each other. So fascia itself is just an umbrella term, and therefore, like, what I obviously deal with is mostly myofascial tissue, but in the end, we're kind of, whatever you do, you always affect all the connective tissues in the body as a whole. Also, what that connective tissue does in our body is a so-called tensegrity structure, which I will attach another video just behind me here, like coming soon, that will explain that a bit better, as I don't have a tensegrity model here. But the definition of tensegrity, and I have to look this up, so give me one sec. A 3D structure consistent of members under tension, which are continuous throughout the structure, which in our case is the fascia, and parts which are under compression, which are not continuous. So in terms of the body, that's the bones. So you've got the bones that are static under compression. Did I get that right? Yes. The bones that are under compression, and then the fascia that is under constant tension from pulling forces from outside the environment that holds that bony structure together. So I've got a little video here from Tom Myers explaining that very nicely. You don't have to watch the whole video, which is about 5 minutes. You can fast forward either to minute 150 or to minute 307 to get the most best explained parts about all this. So enjoy the video here now.
Sailboat must be one of the best of human inventions, going through the water using nothing but the wind. But we didn't come out here for an ecology lesson. We came out to learn something about the body, and a sailboat can help teach us about how the body stands up. We're used to looking at structures like the lighthouse in the building behind me, where you've got one brick piled on top of another brick, all sitting on solid main granite, so that it's a continuous compression structure all the way down from the top of the lighthouse to the ground. And we think of our skeleton as being the same way, the head piled on top of the thorax, and the chest on top of the pelvis, and the pelvis on top of the legs. But you know, if you disappeared all of the soft tissue, the skeleton would fall to the ground. And a sailboat is a little bit instructed like that. A body is more like a sailboat than a lighthouse. The mast is kind of like a bone, or a series of bones like the spine, and the stays, the shrouds, are really like the myofasciae of the body, offering extra support in a tensional way, not just a compressional way. If you suddenly disappeared all these stays off the sailboat, the mast would fall down under the pressure of the sail. You really need these guys on this side to keep it tight. If we went over and waggled the shrouds on the other side, you'd see that they were very loose. But when we turn the boat the other way, they'll be tight again. Same thing is true of the body. If you look at this structure here, This is kind of taking the sailboat idea to an extreme. These tensegrity structures were invented by Kenneth Snelson, a sculptor, and popularized by Buckminster Fuller, a designer in the 1960s. It works off a whole new geometry. But if you look here carefully, you'll see that the dowels are supported in a balanced way without even touching each other by the balance of the rubber bands. And the body is very much the same way. If you disappeared all these rubber bands, all the dowels would clatter to the floor. And the same thing is true of the body. If you disappeared all the soft tissue, all the bones would clatter to the floor. We have this kind of illusion because we look at those skeletons in the classroom. They're all wired together, so we think of the skeleton as a solid framework on which the muscles work, but it's not that way at all. The bones float in the soft tissue in the same way that these dowels float inside the rubber bands. Now, when you start to look at these structures, they have a bunch of interesting properties that are very much like the properties bodies have. If I create a shortness in this part of the soft tissue, you can see that the whole structure deforms in a way. Let's see if I can keep it still enough here so that you can see that. See how the whole structure goes? So I could have a shortness over in this part of the body and be complaining of pain over in this part where it's changing. Same thing is true of structural body work. You can have somebody saying, oh, the pain's in my neck. And I start to work over here and they say, no, the pain's up here in my neck. I say, well, that may be where you're hurting, but this is where the problem is. This is where the shortness is. Kind of bone manipulation techniques like chiropractic and osteopathy tend to look at knocking the bones back into place, which can also work to restore balance to the structure of the body. But long-term, chronic postural difficulties are often set in the soft tissue in such a way that resetting the bones simply won't last. The soft tissue will again pull the bones out of place. So what we're looking at here in terms of what we want is an even, balanced tone across the myofasciae of the body so that the bones will stay lightly, easily floating in place. The Anatomy Trains theory is looking at how the myofasciae of the body cover the bones, not just this muscle going from here to here, but in the series of continuous rubber bands that work their way around the human structure, which is a good deal more complicated than this structure, so that we can achieve the kind of balance that leads to ease and harmony and a lack of pain.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that video from Thomas Myers, and I hope that explained the tensegrity a little bit better, and you know what a tensegrity model actually is. Looking at that, you could also now go further and say, okay, so fascia connects everything, and you push on this side, and therefore the whole thing moves, so therefore everything is connected. And you would have heard me say that a few times already, training with me, getting massage with me. But I also know that getting that as an answer to a question of, oh, why is this happening, what's going on here, can still leave someone hanging quite a bit, because you're not quite getting that one answer that we as humans always strive to get, and yeah, just have that one answer that explains it all. However, just because having that fascia concept of everything is connected, it doesn't make the previous and still valid take on a single muscle action like a bicep curl obsolete. It doesn't mean that that concept is wrong. It may just not be complete. So all that does by saying everything is connected, it just puts it, it sets it into a context of the system, of the body system as a whole, like it's a whole unit, and you have different parts of that create that whole unit. That's how I see it anyway. So what do you need to have fascia functioning properly? So as I said earlier, fascia helps to let muscles glide on top of each other and move easily around. For that to happen, fascia needs to be nicely hydrated. So dehydration is often a cause for discomfort, pains, getting stuck. Literally what happens is if the fascia is not hydrated, or if you haven't moved for a while, it gets stuck, in particular stuck on the bony sections, like the fascia connects, say for the arm example, you've got the whole line that goes through, but then it kind of connects like a train station. It has stations where people can go on and off. So it gets particular tight and a bit more tenderness around the wrist, around the elbow, then up in the shoulder, where in between here, it's nice and squishy. So again, that's the different, what I said at the beginning, the fascia can be nice and soft, or it can be a bit tougher. So ligaments, tendons, usually a bit tougher, where in between the muscle, it's like when you got a chicken breast at home and you cut it into pieces and you find those little stringy bits in the actual meat, that's fascia. But also fascia is the tougher bits that you sometimes have to actually cut off on the insertions. So that's all connective tissue, and that needs to be nicely hydrated to move. If it gets stuck, however, what can happen, and I just want to explain that to you a bit further. So what we see nowadays very often in what is almost a normal posture nowadays, from a normal way of practice now to back, weight gravity force now, so the head becomes a lot heavier. So we're putting that forward, tension force on the muscles, and but not only, so these muscles over time tend to get locked long, so they keep holding on because they actually want to pull you back, so there's that force, but because they put into a long position, so they hold it very long. What happens in the toxin is position, so that distance in here changes from here before. So then we talk about short block, because the muscles of the distance from shoulder to sternum, the distance changes, it's shorter, but again there is force on there, because as we learned earlier, the myofascial tissue is constantly under force because it is all connected, and you've got the ground force on top of that. So then we talk about short block, and that's important because most of the time people only experience it because there's more load on the back, so that's why you feel pain. But it's equivalent as important to work on the shoulder or on the front, so that you open that shoulder and switch up. So the opening of that will then allow us to draw back and actually get some relaxation through those back muscles up here. So I hope that makes a bit more sense now, and I will leave it at this for the introduction this time, but over the next 12 weeks or so I'll have to see how I go with some of the lines. Every newsletter I will talk about one of the lines. So overall we can split them into 12 lines in the body. So you got your superficial back line, superficial front line, your lateral line, your spiral line, your back functional line, front functional line, ipsilateral functional line. You have a superficial and a deep front arm line, and a superficial and deep back arm line, and you get the deep front line, which is probably one of the most important lines. But anyway, like they're all important, but yeah, so I'll go through them over the next few weeks to come. As I said, I'm not sure if it's going to be 12 weeks because the arm lines may be coming instead of in 4, they may come in 2 or even in 1 session. I'll have to see how much I get into those. So I hope you will enjoy this and get some good information and knowledge out of this. And to finish off, my juice of the month this time. I'm only going to put the picture down because I kind of made it earlier this morning and it's already down in my belly. So juice of the month today is juice of 2 oranges, 2 passion fruits, a lime and a couple of apples. Always, you know, Valencia oranges are in season now, passion fruit in season, lime in season, apples in season. What else do you want? So hope you enjoy, and I'll looking forward to see you at the next newsletter. Have a good month, and oh, actually I might see you earlier in about 2 weeks time for my blog. So have a good 2 weeks, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.